After surviving a nighttime ambush at their campsite, the group has managed to not only all survive relatively intact, but also have a new individual with them. Let's see how this all goes. Liam will wipe the blade off on his pant leg and walk tiredly back towards the wagon and sheath the blade before turning and looking at the armored figure that's robed standing there and just staring at it like, and what the fuck are you supposed to be?
I am Nistrith.
This is a fucking joke. Rin, you casting a fucking illusion spell, and he kind of reaches out to kind of like tap like one of your arms.
She'll reach out and tap him back.
Ah, fuck me. Okay.
What's
that-
this?
Is that the suit of armor? You wearing it there?
I'll look at it and be like, how did you not know that was back there? We knew she was back there. How did you not?
No, I know I had another crate that we were
It was
getting.
back there.
But I didn't look inside. This was inside. You were inside? Oh, shit. I don't
What's
know.
that?
That's what I'm figuring. What he's saying, and he points at Dade.
I seem to be a long way from home.
Well, where the
Where
fuck
are
is
we?
home? What the fuck?
I don't know. But I know this is not it.
You're in a bog. We're on our way to Palantis.
What are you?
I am Nistrith.
Some kind of construct.
Should people make this? He kind of looks at Jorg.
Do I need to make an Arcana check
Sure.
to determine if there's something we can make?
Sure.
Oh, I am.
I should get advantage on that, at least. Which means Arcana. Shitty roll, but I have advantage,
alright.
so
12's
Much
alright,
better.
but 25 is better. It's
Significantly
good!
so.
It could be better! So,
yes, life is good, but it could be better.
so as Jorg looks over this, like, moving, sentient, apparently armored being, there were some experiments to create, like, guardians out of metal. And you know about wizards creating golems of various substances, armor, etc. But this is a little more intricate. Like, you can hear, as you get closer to it, not necessarily gears, but definitely some type of material has been used in lieu of muscles under the frame and under the armor. This is definitely a mystical construct of some sort. But the
Not
fact
like
that
an armor
there's
defender.
not like armor, because there's a sentience, an actual true sentience imbued into it, which is completely unheard of.
Okay.
And Nistrith is just going to look down at Jorg as Jorg is looking at her.
And it's like 3-5.
That's why she's looking down. She's going to mimic his movements.
Okay, this is weird.
What in the proper
This was-
fuck? You figure this out.
Examine it. Let's see here.
And Liam just kind of just shrugs off what this madness and goes to sit at the front of the wagon. And you hear his chain shirt being taken off as he's examining his chest. Rin kind of leans on Carol as he stands up and just nods and says, "Thank you. I've never been hit like that before." And he'll look over at the Warforged. Is this some kind of defensive construct?
I don't know. It was in a large box. That's I point over to the shattered remains of it. The ogre actually picked it up and was taking it away.
Why
Sing a
was
low tune under my
So
breath.
it's not animated armor, it's not an armored defender, it's not a clockwork construct, it's not a turret tank.
Rin
I'll
just
sing
They
a low
have a
tune under my
name.
breath to clean my clothes and shit.
Yeah, we heard you, Nistrith, which still tells us nothing. But thanks.
Well, I am not it. I'm Nistrith. I have a name.
Yeah, but people are concerned about what you are, not who you are.
Well, I'm not that. And she'll point at the ogre.
No.
You are welcome.
Good enough for me.
You're serious?
Hello. Will come in.
Rin just kind of pushes off from Carol and moves to try to pick up the elven woman that had fallen out of the casket that got ruined.
I'll assist him.
You
guys
are
will-
injured. Let me.
He'll step back, like reluctantly, obviously, but he'll take a step back, and you'll
She'll
see
Bend
this
down and pick up the woman.
thin elven woman in white robes, signifying her as a white robe mage. She seems incredibly familiar to you. You're not quite sure from where, much like when you're looking at Liam. But when you pick her up, you get this jolt of memory in a way. You were hearing the sounds of battle while you were being rocked around in the wagon before that kind of stirred your consciousness. As you pick her up and kind of turn towards the wagon and see the other coffins on the inside, some of which are broken open, you can hear the voices of these people in your mind in that din of battle. Like, these are people who were at that battle that you recall somehow. And you recognize her voice as one who was casting magic. And you can recognize one of the Knights of the Crown in there as a friend who was trying to save this elf before he got struck down. What gets you, though, is as you go to take a step towards the wagon, you feel this piercing pain as if somebody has just impaled you through the back of your body. Like up from beneath your rib cage that came up and burst through your sternum and into the air. And it's a sudden searing jet of pain. And as you look down, in the shock, you can see that the wound on this corpse mimics what you just felt.
She was attacked. I heard her voice. She'll just gently lay the woman down without having a proper coffin to put her in.
Yeah, that coffin's broken. When you go to look into the back of the wagon, you see a couple of small bags of personal possessions, and you see 2 spell books in the back with familiar writing. You recognize one being the elven woman's hand, and the other one is the human male, who you don't see him, but you know there was a human white robe spellcaster with him as well. And the book, for some reason, you recognize as being his. When you layer on the back, you kind of brush the Knight of the Crown with like the back of your hand, and when you touch him, you get that another flash of pain, sudden pain. The back of your head has just been struck by something heavy, and you can feel that pressure and hear that weird crunch of bone from the behind before everything goes black for a moment. And you can see, like, as in that dark with a small bit of light that's coming through the back of his helmet's caved in.
She'll pick up the woman's spell book and put it on her chest and cross her hands over it. This was hers. That one is someone else's.
See Rin look over at you, crosses his arms over his chest, and how do you know this?
I see it. I heard it. I'd say she'll actually look at him, tilt her head, and go, I understand you are confused. I will try to not be offended by that.
Right. Liam! And you'll see him start walking along the side of the wagon towards the front where Liam retreated to. You guys can hear them start to discuss things at the front.
So while all of this has been going on, I haven't been up there. I will be taking the bodies of the bandits that I killed,
Mhm.
and I'll be dragging them next to each other, kind of near or underneath that bush or tree that was kind of by where we were.
Yep.
So that they're next to each other laying, and then I'll be kind of like in between the two of them, like leaned up against the tree or the bush or whatever, and I'll be like talking, and I'll just be saying, you know, it really didn't have to be this way. This was premeditated, though. I mean, I recognize you guys from the inn. You were talking about these two. You were planning on doing this. I don't really know what you would have expected me to do about this. You know, I know you were running away and I stabbed you, and like, yeah, I'm kind of sorry about it, but what was going to happen from there? You were just going to run away and I'll never see you again, and then you get to do this to somebody else? Like, you had to be stopped, right? I mean, so I don't really, I guess I sort of feel bad that you're gone, but I don't really know that I could really do anything about it now. So, I mean, I'll be seeing if they have any, like, I'm not looking for like money or equipment or anything like that. I'm looking for like personal effects. like keepsakes, trinkets, like something that would be personal to them.
You will find on one of them a small medallion, like a very simple chain, but it looks like an old family crest on a medallion. And this, it's something that you've seen occasionally in Sanction. On some of the other thieves that you've kind of gone about guild business when you're introduced to people, you recognize it. You can't quite place whose or what family that could be, but it's definitely something you recognize. That's the first thing.
Okay.
But it's the only one. On the other body, because you have the two that are there by you that you're having this little chat with, your heart to heart. On the second one, you find a rolled up, looks like piece of parchment stuffed into, his belt pouch essentially. Like it's too long to fit in the pouch fully, so like the edge of it is kind of sticking out of it.
I will take the medallion with the chain, and I will study it, and I will just say, if I can, I'll get this where I know it needs to go, and I'll put that like away in my pouch. And then the piece of parchment, I'll glance at it and see what it is. I read it or whatever and see what it is.
So when you unroll the parchment, it's written in some sort of code. But I need you to roll your perception really quick.
Sure. 16.
So as you unfurl it, you've got the parchment in one hand, and you've got the medallion as you're getting ready to put it in your pouch, and you feel on the back there's like engravings, something carved in the back. When you look at that, it looks like a cipher that is matching up with what you're seeing on this other person's letter.
Okay.
So it's written in code. Now, you've seen codes before, some types of small notch marks and hash marks and symbols used for various things with the Thieves Guild. This seems like it's a little bit more complex type of version of a written form of Thieves' Cant, essentially. And with the cipher and your knowledge of the Thieves Guild, particularly Thieves' Cant, you can start to make out what's being said in here. You start recognizing like basic word structures. Most particularly, you get the fact that a town called Firstwal is mentioned. And that's where these people are supposed to go with the package. Take package to Firstwal, contact would meet you there, make the ogre stay outside.
Do I have a map of anything? Would we have been given a map for our travels?
you guys
so
would
we
have
might be able to kind of...
Especially being around Sanction and traveling this direction, you'd have like a basic map of the general area. And what the letter you're reading is referencing is Firstwal, which is in Throt.
Okay.
Now, you guys yourselves, given your travels, you're not that far into the bogs. So let me put something out here for you guys so you can see where you're at.
So we're about another day and a half away from Firstwal.
Yeah. Firstwal is a city, like I was saying a while back, it's run by primarily humans and goblinoid, species. So hobgoblins, goblins, things of that nature. They're very wary of outsiders. Now, to get to Palanthas, you guys have a really big journey that goes, you have to go south of the Stormshire Forest, between the mountains there, past Eastkeep, and straight on west, through Gardland, etc. So you guys should, if you want to stay on the straight and narrow, just go straight southwest before you hit the opening, and just head straight west from there. But Firstwal isn't that far away, technically.
All right. Now I need to decipher what this package is that they had, right? And so since I don't really know what's been going on up
Right.
with everybody else, because I've been doing this, I am going to now get up and join the rest of the party and see what the commotion has been all about.
So Voss returned to the group roughly around the time that this conversation up top with Nistrith and Rian had kind of come to a close, and Rian started walking towards the front of the wagon to talk to Liam. Those two are discussing things, leaving the six of you now in the dying embers of the campfire up by the wagon.
Now, real quick, just because I can't find it on the map, where is Palanthas?
Palanthas is way west.
Yep.
So go slightly
Across the plains,
northwest
through the
of you.
mountains. It's by a small bay.
Ooh, yeah, it's up there by the lake.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we got a ways.
Oh, that's way north of where you said straight west through like Throt.
Yeah,
I
you've
was
got to
over here
come
looking
down
at,
and then go west through the opening between the mountains there.
and
Yeah.
then go northwest at that
Yep.
point.
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's a far
this is a journey. Yeah.
You're traveling
That's why we're
halfway
getting
across
paid
the
so much.
continent.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not
Yes,
even
we
halfway.
are.
Just
Which
not
is
even
why we're all
halfway.
getting paid. Which is why we're all getting paid so damn much.
Yeah, we are.
Well,
Just to be
hopefully we don't
clear-
all die of dysentery before we get there, because
Right. We've all played this game before. We know what happens.
Everybody dies of
In the river.
dysentery.
Break a leg
Everyone.
cord in the river.
Except me.
So
Snake
just a quick
bites,
question,
you know.
if I may. So realistically, cutting through the Stormspire forest would not be the best route for travel anyway, because we'd be losing time because it's forest. I
Yeah,
assume.
with the wagon, the plains would be much safer for you guys.
Okay.
Or excuse me, much more conducive to a quick journey. You can make it through the forest, and it could give you some cover because you know if there's concern that you might be getting followed or whatever, the forest could give you guys some advantages, but you'll have more speed on the open plains than you would going through a forest or groves, or even the mountains or foothills. But the first thing is getting out of this damnable fucking bog. That's the hard part first. Oh, by the way, that marking that says Tower of High Sorcery by Nightland in the forest there, nobody knows that's there, so ignore that.
Wait, which thing?
Nothing.
Nothing,
Exactly.
Jeff. All right, so let's ping it. Let's just do that repeatedly, because that's what we're going to do.
Not this,
Thanks,
Jeff.
Sean.
Fair.
We're definitely not talking about this.
Where
So-
there's absolutely nothing there.
Yeah, so I'll just kind of survey what's going on, and then I'll look at Nizdrith, and I'll just kind of nod, and then I'll turn to the rest of the group and I'll
Like his
say,
boss being like nonchalant, like, oh, okay. Yeah.
yeah, like really calm, just like, oh, this is a thing now. I'll just turn to the group and I'll say, so these bandits were to take a package, a special package to a town called Firstwal, which is not too far from here. I'm guessing this was the package they were supposed to take there, along with their little ogre bodyguard. So, if
Somebody had to carry it.
if whomever or whatever this is interested in knowing where they were going and what their purpose was, my guess is that some answers may be in Firstwal. It's not too much of a detour from where we're going. Probably cost us a day or two. But what's a day or two on the length of a journey that we're taking anyways, right? And it's a town. Maybe we can stock up, get some supplies. Although it may be a little bit dangerous, but could be fun.
Eastkeep is a town too, and it's actually on the way out.
It is, but Eastkeep doesn't have the answers that could potentially be in Firstwal. And I don't know anything about who this person is, but the way I figured, if I have information that may lead them to knowing what their purpose was or where they were headed or what their circumstances are, that I owe it to them to let them know and give them the option. And I'm happy to go with.
You guys will hear some rustling from the front of the wagon, and then Liam kind of hopped down from the driver's seat. He's walking towards the back, and he's just wearing like a very thin shirt that he was wearing underneath his chain. And as he gets towards the back, you guys see him look over at the Warforged and look at all of you. He's like, all right, first off, we're not going to fucking Firstwal, all right? That's not on the cards.
Why?
We don't need to go. We need to go to Palanthas. And this, and he points over at the Warforged, this is going to come with us because it was in this fucking wagon and it's got to go there. Let the knighthood deal with it however they fucking will. No offense thing, but
She.
sure.
So
Look,
she appears to be a
girl.
person, and she can make her own decisions, and she can go wherever she wants.
this is a thing. It's not a person. Look, it's an automaton.
It seems to walk and talk and think and do things.
You said the fire is dying out.
Yeah,
Fire bolting wood would make it come back to life, correct?
that would definitely see the reinvigorating the flame, so to speak.
As long as no one's around to get hurt.
No.
She'll turn and whisper the cantrip.
You guys will see like a burst of flame kind of flow straight from Nisrith's fingers, hit the campfire and just reinvigorate it. It starts to burn brightly again. At that point, you'll see the white robes of Rian start to walk up along the side of the wagon as well. He looks at Liam and says, "No, we need to figure out what's going on with this. And if this entity, she, and he just kind of looks over at you, she,
She'll nod.
if she wants to go there, she's a conscious being. We should assist. And he's like, no, we have a purpose. We are going straight to Palanthas. This is what we have to do. This is not up for debate.
Where did you find me?
I don't fucking know. I came and got the bodies, made sure everybody was taken care of, and put in a wagon.
You were there fighting with them. And she'll
Yeah, but
point at the bodies in the back.
Aye, but I don't know you.
I was what you were carrying.
No.
Who did you get me from?
Listen, whatever the fuck you are, alright? It doesn't matter. You're going to Palanthas. He, she, it, whatever. He looks over at Rian. They're going to Palanthas. And Rian looks over at all of you and then looks back at the knight. With all due respect, Sir Shaley, we outnumber you, and I think we should be able to vote on this. Nobody's saying we're not going to Palanthas. Nobody's saying we're not going to go there, as soon as we can get this done. But we were just attacked by brigands out in the middle of nowhere that apparently were supposed to take this individual to that town. I say if everybody here wants to go that way and look at it, what's a day? We've got
Right.
weeks.
We're still going to Palanthas.
Right.
She's still coming with us because she's with us now. So why wouldn't she? If she was supposed to go there anyways, then it's still in the cards, right? So an extra day and maybe finding out some more information about she who does not know what's going on or her past or anything. Apparently, I mean, information's information. Information wins wars, right? Think of it from a knightly perspective. Without information, your sword arm does nothing, right? With information,
I swore to get this wagon to Palanthas. That's what I'm going to do.
and I swear we'll get there.
You
Fine.
should all sleep. It's late. I can watch.
All right, no, that's not creepy at all.
I don't have to sleep. I don't eat either. Or drink.
What the fuck? You trust this thing?
Look, like Sybil's gonna she's at this point she's kind of got her glaive kind of over her shoulders and it's kind of got her arms up on it. It's like, look, you guys get this figured out. I'm good with whatever you want to do so long as I'm still here. I'm gonna go back to bed. You guys have a good and she's just gonna walk away and head back to her bedroll.
If she meant us harm, she would have done so already.
I had plenty of opportunity.
Rian just
And-
kind of nods.
And I'm not the only one who noticed Rin casting a certain spell not long ago. If there
No.
was a problem, we would have known. Am I correct in that? And I'll look over to Rin.
He just nods. No, absolutely. Everything. This is not something that means us harm. I'm sorry. She is not something that means us harm. Someone that means us harm. I apologize. I'm not quite used to this.
You are injured. You are
Situation.
tired. It's understandable.
Right. But, Sir Knight, I think that we should at least see to resolving the issue, and then we'll be on our journey. See Liam just kind of throw his hands up in his air. He's like, fucking fine.
Oh, one more thing. She kind of looks back and actually looks at Liam. I'm not too keen on doing extra work, going to this Firstwal or whatever, but you never know. If we just kind of pass this by, these guys aren't going to go back to their employer, which means they're going to know something's wrong. And for all we know, we could get attacked on the open plains by somebody who decides to send reinforcements.
Second, third, follow-up teams.
Just saying.
Fine. We'll go fucking go. Shit. You'll hear him kind of get settled back up into the wagon driver's seat. And Ren just kind of... All right, well, let's get some rest. I guess we'll make out that direction in the morning, yeah?
Perfect.
Well, we'll continue watch, I guess.
Which watch was this that was interrupted again?
Second watch.
Second.
Watch.
Myself and Voss.
We have now a bunch of dead bodies around the camp. Probably about, 4 or 5 or so.
They should be buried.
I agree.
I mean, Jorg's going to be in charge of burying what's left of the corpse after he skins it.
Yeah, we
But
should
the
probably,
rest of them should have funerary rites performed, and I will do so.
Yeah, let's address that right quick. So Jorg
Dave
is
doesn't
actually
really care.
Jorg is actually taking time to skin part of the ogre for some gnomish science later on. Little weird. Liam gives it a weird eye. Rin just buries himself in his spell book, and they let you do what you're doing. You can just tell though that Liam seems oddly, not giving a fuck. Now the burials with the humans involved, he'll get out there and dig himself and make sure they're taken care of. The ogre seems to him to be something that's not even worth spending the time with, which is probably why he doesn't bat an eye when Jorg gets out his flensing knife and starts going to work. Nizdrith, you don't have a spellbook. As a wizard, you know you need one. Rin will actually help you copy and transcribe the spells that you can recall down into a book. He does have a spare in the wagon that he does kind of pull out and help you with, and starts giving you some of the materials. Basically create your, novice spell book, as it were. So he handles all the materials for you. He helps you transcribe it. Some of the spells that you know, he actually knows as well. So he can do them from his memory, as opposed to making you literally talk out all the formulas and have you draw in the book and do it all. He can actually get a good bunch of those in there for you. So that takes, unfortunately though, a good part of the night. He's only awake for, I'd say, probably another couple hours before you are left alone to complete scribing into the book. Now, with the campfire you guys set up, you can manage to get enough light to get it done. It's not that big of an issue. It's weird because there are other words and phrases of magic that are just on the edge of your awareness. You know there's more out there that you have access to, you just can't remember them for some reason. And it's a little frustrating, but you do manage to accurately put down the ones that you actually remember. The other ones, not so much. You'll kind of try to spend some time remembering what those are, but they're just fleeting. They won't stay in your mind long enough for you to grasp them. They're too ephemeral. The watches for the rest of this night go pretty much uneventfully. The corpses get buried. You guys manage to at least cover the ogre body enough, because that's a huge hole to dig. Liam sleeps in the wagon in the front. Rin just kind of takes up a bedroll underneath the wagon and goes to bed, leaving you guys by the dying campfire. I know you guys had set up some watches, so those go through that incident. Everything seems pretty quiet. You guys are out in the bogs. It's still a little cold at night. Remember, it's still spring. It's just the coming of the spring is starting to slowly thaw everything out. And the bogs are getting a little cold in the evening. But as the sun rises and things start to heat up a bit, you can see that some of the water patches are starting to melt very quickly as the sun rises. It's very, very thin sheets of ice on top of it. When you guys do awaken the next morning, it's pretty much time to set out. Now, as you are all kind of rolling up your bedrolls and having a quick bit of rations for breakfast, or maybe some fried stuff over the campfire, Liam will kind of call you as he's setting things up in the wagon. You hear him, his sword and some of his armor getting put up there by the front seat as well. Before he looks back, he's like, "Hey, so are we going to this Firstwal place? That's where do you want to go?"
I believe that's what was discussed, yeah.
We're sure. I mean, we could go straight to Palanthas and get this task done with.
I'm not super interested in why they wanted our friend here. I'm mostly concerned about leaving our back exposed to somebody as we make our way across the plains.
We're going to have hundreds of miles of doing that, to be sure. But
Firstwal. We're on to Firstwal.
all right, I'll start putting the horses up. And you'll see him kind of, go and grab the horses from the little watering hole they had managed to break some ice in for themselves. He'll start hooking them up to the harnesses. Rin will get up as everybody's kind of awakened for the morning. Seems a little groggy. You see him stuff some dried, meat in his mouth, like a bit of jerky, and he's chewing on it as he's rolling up his bedroll, throwing it in the back of the wagon. You also see him check on some of the bodies to make sure all the unbroken caskets are still intact. You guys have the one broken one with the elven female that was in it. So for that, you see him kind of trying to jury rig something in the back to make sure that she's resting without getting jostled around too much. As he's doing that, you will see that there are 2 spell books on the edge of the wagon bed that looks like he's kind of moved there so they don't get in the way of him as he's working. Now, for Nizdrith, neither one of those are his.
Yeah, those belong to the two of the bodies that are in there.
Correct. Yeah, he finishes packing her up, and then at that point, he kind of hops in the back gives everybody a nod, and Rin's just kind of like, all right, well, I guess time to get going then.
I'll hop in the back where I was before and continue to watch the road behind us as we make our way.
We'll start a trucking.
So the journey to Firstwal from where you guys are at would normally probably take on regular ground probably about a day and a half. It takes you guys 2 days to get there. Luckily, as the second day is around noon as you're traveling after the morning stop, you are starting to kind of pull out of the bogs, which is what has really slowed you down. All the water and the wetlands there with the melting snow and the slush it's turned into has made the travel go very, very slow. So probably every hour or two, you guys are having to stop, double check everything, make sure you're not sinking down in the mud too much, clean off your boots. The mud's just kind of trying to suck you guys into the bogs as you travel. It's gets to probably, I'd say, around 40 to 50 degrees outside. So it's still a bit of cold in the air. It's still nippy, and it's still very, very humid because of all the water around you. But, you know, it could be worse travel. It could be a desert. But as you guys make it to the second day, you have broken into the foothills towards the mountains. Now, the mountains that are nearby are the northern Dargard Mountains. Those stretch all the way down from above the Soul's Wound forest down to Stormshire Forest, and basically is one of the borders that kind of makes this gateway out of Throt and the Gardland, and with Nightland right on the other side of it. So making it to these foothills, you're starting to come across more like worn paths on the ground. It's a bit more dry. As you guys are kind of driving the wagon, you'll see the mud is starting to dry and kind of flake off as the day goes on. And as you get, I'd say, roughly till about 3 or 4 in the afternoon, so like late afternoon, you can start seeing like fires on the horizon in the distance, just smoke rising up. For those who have been in places like Sanction and traveled a lot of the smoke that's in the air is pretty much commonplace when you're approaching a larger city. You have a lot of fireplaces that are working right now. You have the blacksmith shops. You have any encampments on the outside of town, maybe little homesteads outside town. So this type of smoke is not uncommon. It's not anything black. Nothing's burning out of control. It's just smoke fires from the city itself. And as you start to rise up over a hill, you can see Firstwal laid out. It's a walled city, rather large, actually not quite as large as Sanction, but still a good size. Probably a couple thousand people actually call this city home. Now, what you guys remember of Firstwal is that it's primarily populated by humans and goblinoids. So hobgoblins, goblins, those types of species pretty much call this place home. That's pretty much the main populace in Throt throughout this area. What you'll notice as you kind of see the town, just north of it, more into the midland there, you'll see massive campfires rising. For those that have traveled, say like Jorg has a lot, occasionally with the knights into night encampments, this is like an army encampment, the amount of smoke you're seeing. And as you start getting closer and closer to the Firstwal, you can see hundreds of tents just scattered across the northern part of the countryside. It looks like an encamped army.
I'll actually kind of turn as we're approaching that, kind of move up towards the front of the wagon. It's like, Liam, what's up with that?
Well, if you ask me, and you did, probably a fucking army.
I can see what it is. I'm asking, why is it there?
Why the fuck are you asking me? I'm seeing this for the first time just like you. Like, I don't know. Hey, wizard people, you got a magic ball, you can look in and see what the fuck that is.
That is not something we can traditionally do.
Aye. So, no fucking idea.
Hold on a second. I'll pull out my loot. I'll be like, I don't know who the fuck that is. And I'll do
Oh my god.
I'm seriously just imagining you as one of the characters from Road to El Dorado, and it's just
Yeah, furiously bards.
Yeah. Furiously
that look,
partying.
just
What you doing, Jeff? What is Dade doing?
Nothing. I was literally
Okay.
fucking with him.
I was like, are you trying to cast a spell? What are you casting? Okay. So you just like,
I'm casting. I don't know what the fuck that is.
okay.
I think that spell is eat me one half.
Yeah. Rin kind of chuckles at Dade for a second and just shakes his head. Well, I mean, if they're not any signs of violence, I think we're okay, right? And Liam just kind of shrugs like, I guess so. I mean, one way to find out, we can just go and say, hi, what you doing here? What's your purpose? Who the fuck are you?
I will definitely, look in that direction, and I'll see if there's any identifying flags, maybe.
Yeah.
If the tents
Standards,
are all
colors.
uniform colors, like in to signify something, that's
Are they
kind of what I'll
actually
look
uniformed?
for. But...
Is this a bandit army? If it is, how fucked are we?
Go actually give me a perception check. Let's see what you get. Let's see if you can pick out amongst all the fields of tents anything that can possibly be identifying.
19.
A 19. Okay.
I roll pretty good.
Yeah, you did roll pretty good. So with a 19, you can
Stop
pick out
announcing it, Jeff.
as you guys start coming.
Mm-hmm.
I'll curse you later. As you start getting a little bit closer in the bouncing back of the wagon, you're looking at over there, you can see these flags, these pennants that are flying with looks like a massive red dragon or some sort of serpent on it.
Does anybody know what army or militia is represented by a massive red dragon?
Would that be a history?
You could definitely make a history roll for that. It would save me having to do the exposition with Rin or Liam. So yeah, 100%.
All right, I will do history. I'm pretty good at history. At least halfway decent. Not proficient, but
I'm all right with history as well.
Zach.
got an
You got
18.
I have this many in history.
18. Wow. All right. So, and you have the Sanguine dice set, which is an awesome dice set. With a history check of 18 for Jorg, as the gnome looks out over these fields and is hearing about this banner and kind of sees it for himself. This is kind of harkening back to the old days of the War of the Lance, where they had the Red Dragon Army, the Blue Dragon armies, things of that nature. Those were kind of identified, not necessarily exactly in this way, but a similar way. It's definitely something to do with a dragon of the red spectrum. Not necessarily anything in terms of dragon armies, because those haven't been seen since the War of the Lance. But you have in front of you, that's the only clues you have that can link it to history.
So they're amassing here at Firstwal.
From what you can see, they're about a half a mile to a mile away from the city itself.
Does it look like there's any way we could actually get to the city without going through them?
100%. They're north of the city. You guys are approaching from the southeast.
Gotcha.
So keep going the way we're going and don't go over there.
Yeah. Let's maybe do that.
Yeah, you guys would have to purposely go out of your way to go there instead of going to the city first. So that's not an issue at all.
Okay. Yeah, if you look at the way their uniforms are made, they have the leather on that. It's stained red. It's like a red dragon. Not sure who they are, but might be bad guys.
Well, hopefully. I mean, they're what, a mile, 2 miles away from Firstwal, so hopefully they're just kind of doing their thing. Because if they wanted to invade, it's not like they're far away. Why would they have set up camp here? They may as well just invade. So maybe they're just squatting.
Let sleeping armies lie, as far as I'm concerned.
Exactly. And we'll, when we get up to Palantis, we'll tell people who might need to know.
Yeah, Liam nods at that. He's like, I don't think it's anything we need to worry about right now. It's not really it's not our fucking country, to be honest, for one. But I think it's probably best just to be safe on the safe side. I don't wear my armor into the city, right? And actually
Probably a good call just in case.
Yeah, he'll reach over and he'll pat, his Solamnic armor. And he'll actually push a cloak over it just to cover it as you guys get closer and closer to the Firstwal. Now, as you guys approach the city, a couple more things become clear. One, Firstwal has a couple of small farms on the outskirts of the city. It looks like that they've tried to cultivate some of the foothills and the badlands here to make some sort of produce for the people that live in the city. Probably very important. You want to feed your populace. Two, the army that you're seeing, like a mile north, you start seeing more and more figures as you approach to the city itself. And they all look like that you can see Draconians. Hundreds and hundreds of Draconians. That's a little weird. That hasn't been seen in a long, long time. You have the silver Draconians, the Civacs, you have the bronze, the Bozaks, you have the golds, you have the brass. They're all working among these tents. And it looks like they're not necessarily preparing anything for battle. It just seems like they're camped. it's really kind of weird. They're flying the standard, and they're definitely have a pseudo aggressive stance for the city, but they're not actually readying any weapons of war. They're not bringing any sort of siege weapons to bear or constructing any. They're just camped there.
Almost like it's a staging area.
Kind of.
Well, you got to figure. I'll look at it this way too. They're by a city that's mainly compiled of, like you said, goblins and like cutthroat humans and shit like that, basically. So they're out of the way. Nobody necessarily is going to report them because they're amongst people who are kind of out, ostracized on their own, anyways. So this is a good staging ground for them to relax. Technically, I mean, it's not a bad spot for them. And they can kind of go anywhere. They go left towards Volantis. They go right towards the mountains and what's it called, Sanction and stuff like that. So, I mean, they're right in the middle of everything, really.
Well, since Jorg won his history, there's actually also the unofficial Draconian homeland. Tyr is northeast of you guys. Across the rest of the mountains, it's right south of Nordmar where Tyr is, and that kind of became an unofficial home for Draconians after War of the Lance, and as they got more and more accepted as an actual species on Krynn, they actually made a homeland for themselves. It's several days, if not longer, of travel to get down there from here, or get down here from there, but it is a thing that could be coming from that city. I mean, it's hard to guess, really. But as you guys kind of approach the city, you're about a quarter mile out, you can see that the city's been walled. There are two massive garrisons on the east entrance to the city. Looks like they've built up two-story, like, you know, basically security garrisons here that man the walls and kind of take care of people coming into and out of Firstwal. Now, it looks like there's only that one east entrance that's large enough for any amount of traffic to pass through anyways. The rest of the wall seems to kind of go all the way across the city and around it from what you can see as you approach. Once you get right to the gates of the city, you can see
quick.
that... Yes.
Sorry, I did want to speak. I wanted to speak up earlier, but
Sure.
I'm going to turn to the rest of the group. I'm going to look at our automaton friend and look at the rest of them and go, we're not just letting them walk in there like that, right? Do we want to hide them, something, anything? She's going to draw attention.
Ring
No
goes,
matter where we go,
"Oh,
she's going to draw attention.
Like, I mean,
probably
a
good
cloak,
idea."
something, anything.
I don't have a cloak that large.
I'll
Well,
pull out my dagger, and on our... do we have a canopy over the back?
Yep.
Can I?
It's a covered
Can I
wagon.
cut like up top, almost like a moonroof, big enough or long enough to give her something to kind of drape over herself?
Well,
maybe.
she is wearing red robes.
She
Yeah.
pulls the hood of her robe up
Yeah. She
There you
does,
go.
She does
and
have
pulls a
set
pair of
red
gloves out of her bag.
robes. Rin kind
Works
of
for
like,
me.
that'll work.
Oh, that solves that.
Just wanted to bring that up before we walked into the city and people started turning heads.
The white robe mage, he just kind of nods, and Rin just... I think it's a good thing to bring up. I you know, sometimes in some places out here, unknown things create a hostile response. So I appreciate you looking out. This should do, though, I think. And he looks over Nizrit as she kind of like double checks her robes, pulls the hood down, puts on the gloves. For the most part, once she tries to disguise herself a little bit, it's passable. But anybody who tries to give any scrutiny, like looks up under the hood or gets too close, is going to notice that the way the cloth falls on her shoulders is not the way it would normally fall on like a flesh body. It's a little rigid. It looks like she's wearing
Also-
armor under the robes, really.
I also kind of look at it this way: we're going to stand out regardless because we're not, we're not cut purses.
here.
We're not dressed shitty. We're not goblins. I mean, that's a thing.
I mean, likely, but even among the crowd, she stands out.
Fair
Hey,
enough. We'll be all right.
She's fucking tall, too, Liam calls from the front.
Bends her knees and shrinks down, continues walking.
We'll
I
figure
don't
it
mean
out,
to
it's fine.
incriminate myself, but I may have cut a couple of purses in my day.
I'm
No.
talking in general, but you don't look the part. You don't look like the guys that we fought the other night.
Liam
And you definitely
gasped
don't look like the fucking ogre.
dramatically.
Look, we're gonna stick out regardless because we're not
I agree.
Draconians.
Well, the city itself is full of humans and goblinoids. The army's out there.
Hey,
We should be fine in that respect.
It's a separate
Yeah, a
thing. I
mile
think
or
we'll be
two
fine
away.
with that. But I do agree, maybe keeping our little our friend subtle is the best bet.
Well, for now, she can stay in the back of the wagon. It's covered. They're not even going to know unless somebody looks in.
At that point, you guys will start to kind of approach the walled garrisons, and you'll see there are two guards on either side. They're just wearing, like, one is wearing a chainmail shirt and just a tabard over it, no insignias. The other one's wearing like a breastplate. Looks like it's been scavenged from a plate mail suit, the way that it's kind of mismatched with the rest of his armor. They just kind of look up at the wagon. They kind of put an arm up. One of the guys does. They're both humans, looks like. And Liam's like, hey, we're just traveling through, picking up some supplies, making sure everything's, fine with the wagon here. We got, burial detail. And you'll see one of the guards, the one wearing the chain shirt, makes a face like, oh, fuck. The other one goes, you got dead bodies in there? It's like, aye, Fred, we do. But don't worry. They're preserved. We had a cleric take care of it. It's just fine. We just need to stop, rest our feet, rest the horses, maybe get a bite to eat in your town, spend some steel, The guards kind of nod like, all right. No problem. Head on in. Don't cause trouble. We won't fuck you up. Liam's like, aye, no problem, son. No problem. And as he gets ready to kind of like snap the reins to have the horses proceed forward, you guys hear this roar out across from the north. And it just echoes through the air as it kind of like bounces off the ground and reverberates against the wagon. And as people look, you see this massive red dragon, 200, 250 feet, easy, like a mile out, climb up into the clouds. And you see this burst of orange and reddish light just flow through the clouds as the breeze flame into the air and takes off further north.
I'll just kind of say that's not.
Oh,
good.
fuck that. Fuck that.
Hear the guard in the breastplate? That's Cinder. Whatever. Don't worry, it's not going to attack the city.
We'll take
Take
your word for it.
Are you sure?
Yeah, it has plenty of opportunity. It's just kind of left its little minions out here, and you'll see him kind of jerk a thumb like through the garrison towards the north where you guys saw the encampment. They sit there, they act intimidating, they do a little bit of like saber rattling. We've never been attacked by them in full force. I mean, they raid occasionally, but the dragons never showed up.
Right. Okay.
That
well,
is
we'll-
concerning.
We'll be on our way
Okay.
as quick as possible.
You all have fun in town. And Liam will pull the wagon in. And you can see he's just kind of like gripping the reins much more tightly than normal. Obviously, too far away that dragon fear hit you guys, but he's still like silently like, fuck, as you guys clop into town. So now our companions gotten to Firstwal. Let's see what they find in this city. Probably not going to be good things, but we'll hope for the best. We'll see all you next episode.